The Cataclysm Pre-patch is live, and I'm here to give you all the explosive details. Are you ready to see Azeroth change forever? Each zone in Azeroth has been completely reworked from the ground up, which means a much smoother leveling experience in every way. And we also get new goblins and Morgans that drastically change the balance of raiding and PvP forever. And I know everybody's going to be interested in uncovering the secrets of archaeology with me. I mean, you could get some biz gear from that, you know? And everybody's at least a little bit excited about Transmog. Let's get started with an overview of the pre-patch and my first impressions. So the pre-patch is already upon us, but that means we're only a few short weeks away from the May 20th Cataclysm launch date. With the pre-patch here, we have the awe-inspiring destruction of Deathwing. Thousand Needles is now flooded, Ashenvale has this huge volcano, and I regret to inform you, but I recently got lost in Orgrimmar. Alongside the visual transformations of each zone, there's new quests to make the newly redesigned 1-60 experience way smoother. There really has never been a better time to reroll an ult in classic WoW history, and I'm personally taking big advantage working on my Goblin Priest. There are also massive new changes to classes. Reworked talent trees, new glyph systems, you name it. All these new changes have really sparked a noticeable difference across the game world. It feels exciting to be playing Wrath again. It's like all the zones like Dalaran are completely packed. It's visible in the auction house too. The economy is bustling as players rush to level their professions to 450. That way they can quickly jump to 525 when the new expansion launches. And both old and new players alike are rushing to roll new characters since there are new race and class combos available in the pre-patch. And speaking of new races, we've got to talk about one of the highlights of the pre-patch, the Goblin and the Worgen races. These two new races come with brand new starting zones and in some cases very overpowered racials. Worgens are the Alliance-only race, with strong new racials like Dark Flight to increase movement speed and a 1% crit. And Goblins are the Horde-only race, with my personal favorite new racial, the Rocket Jump. They also come with 1% spell haste, which is one of the main reasons I'll be rushing to level my Goblin Priest for high-end raiding. On top of the new races, there's a multitude of new race and class combinations too. One of the major additions is that Dwarves can now play as Shamans and Mages and even Warlocks. I know I'm really going to hate fighting all those annoying casters with their newfound Stone Form ability. Another major change is that Trolls can play as Druids and Warlocks now. Many of the top Resto Druids on my server are re-rolling so they can use Berserking in raid progression. I kinda want to do that myself, so I've got to hold back on the temptation. Meanwhile, there are some other really cool race choices like Gnome Priest, Blood Elf Warrior. We've even got Orc Mages and Undead and Human Hunters too. We've also got some downright weird options available. At least as a longtime Classic player, it's going to be wild seeing people in their Tauren Priests and Paladins, their Night Elf Mages. I mean, that's just insane to me. I'm curious if any of these new race class combos are kind of enticing to you. Do you plan to do any re-rolling in the pre-patch? Next up, let's talk about the Shattered Landscapes, the remnants of Deathwing's destruction. So practically every part of Azeroth has been completely reworked, and one of the biggest changes has been to the Barrens. Now the Barrens has been split in half, and the bottom half is a sort of mid-tier questing zone for both Alliance and Horde. Heading over to the east, we have Azshara, which is now this sort of goblin-themed zone. It's got the Bilgewater Harbor capital city as well, very Horde-focused. To the west, we've got the newly redesigned Desolus, which is this gorgeous, lush area, full of life and vegetation as well. Heading down south, we've got this completely reworked Thousand Needles area as well. It's been flooded with water. It's got this giant barge giving you quests. Not a fan favorite for some people, but some people like it. Eastern Kingdoms hasn't changed as drastically, but there are still some big changes. For example, at Ultrak and Hillsbrad, they've been merged together. South Shore's fallen completely, which is bad news for the Alliance, of course. Loch Modan has been completely destroyed as well. I mean, the dam itself has been demolished, and there's now this giant chasm between the Badlands and Loch Modan. Stranglethorn Vale has also drastically changed as well. There's a northern and a southern section, and split in the middle with this giant whirlpool. The biggest takeaway from all these landmass changes is, first, they're really, really cool. Second, though, they don't really matter that much if you're at least level 60. The reason for that is that you can just get a flight license from the trainer right across from the flight master, and then you can just fly around Azeroth unimpeded, which is amazing. Let's do a deep dive into some of the systems in Cataclysm next. First, we've got Archaeology. That's the new profession everybody gets to have on top of their current professions. You'll be visiting dig sites across Azeroth and doing a new minigame to find artifact fragments. Then with enough fragments, you can create an artifact. Sometimes those artifacts can be bind-on-account epics that are still relevant in Cataclysm. That's exactly why so many people are rushing Archaeology right now. Meanwhile, there's also the new Transmog system. Inside capital cities is a Transmogrifier NPC. In exchange for gold, you can choose items from your collection to visually represent your character. That means you can wear your best looking outfit all the time instead of being forced to wear tier sets. Keep in mind though that you've still got to be able to equip the item you use. That means no Druid Thunder Furies. We've also got a character boost to 80 available. Considering how much faster leveling is in Cataclysm with the questing and the RDF, it really doesn't seem necessary to buy a character boost. But I do know a ton of people with money are going to be tempted to boost goblins and worgens to save time. Alternatively, you could just race change instead, which is way cheaper, but still costs money. So in terms of excitement and anticipation for Cataclysm, it seems like about half the people I know in Season of Discovery are going to be playing Cata. And there are even people I know that are so excited about Cata, they've been blasting private servers just so they can dominate the raids that much harder. And of course all the RPGs, the arenas, the list goes on. But I'd be lying if I didn't say there were some negative things going on right now. I mean, look at what Mr. Darkjack has to say, that the game's this bug-filled mess. There have been some really crazy bugs related to the pre-patch. It almost feels like a beta of sorts. One of the bugs that best illustrates this happened on the North American servers right at the launch of pre-patch. Some lucky people queued up for Battlegrounds and they got over 30 levels in one Battleground. They were getting 10 levels a cap. There's another problem that's going to annoy a lot of people as well, which is that there are tons of missing items for Transmog. So BAL went in on Reddit brings up this point about Transmog right now, and how there are these random green items that are available from TBC quests in Transmog, but then you want to go to Transmog some really cool raid items and they're just missing right now. In some ways, it kind of feels like this pre-patch is a little bit more of a beta than a pre-patch. And I guess I kind of like that because I really like trying to break the game. I mean, I spent hours trying to break into Hyjal yesterday. But I know everybody's different, so I'm curious about your thoughts as well. What do you think about this pre-patch being a lot buggier than previous pre-patches? Let's talk pre-patch advice. Cataclysm has a seemingly endless amount of changes and additions, and it can definitely feel overwhelming to jump in. My biggest advice I can give right now is to hit up your longtime friends, hit up those old guilds. You've got to try to find a group to play with in Cata. Having consistent players to group with is already helping me to level and gear my Goblin Priest. In the near future, I definitely want to share as many tips and tricks as I can, from leveling to gearing up as quickly as possible. Definitely let me know if there's any video in particular you want to see first. So we've talked about all the new stuff coming in the pre-patch, the new systems, the archaeology, the transmog, the new races, the new race class combos. There is so much coming. It's crazy to think that this is just the beginning as well. We haven't even gotten to the actual launch of Cataclysm yet. With all these new systems, I am really curious what your favorite system coming in Cata will be. For me, I have to go with Transmog. On one hand, yes, the glance value is gone, that's not a good thing. On the other hand, it really breathes life into old content, which is exciting for me. With that, my friends, I want to say thank you so much for watching, it means a lot, and don't forget to like and subscribe as well, it really helps out. Also, remember when we talked about those Cata pre-patch issues? Well, there is a major issue facing Season of Discovery right now, and it comes down to balancing, so check out that video next.